Welcome to Moms of the Lou podcast, hosted by and recorded for St. Louis moms. Grab your laundry basket, kick your feet up for nap time, or head out the door for pickup and spend a little time catching up with your favorite St. Louis moms. Hosted by a fellow St. Louis mom, Rebecca Coast, let's dive into our discussion today. Hello, St. Louis moms. We are back for another episode of Moms of the Lou. We are well into the school year at this point, so we are excited today to talk about all things IEP. If you're like me, you might be interested to know more about it if you don't have any background knowledge of it. So we are going to talk to one of our team's experts today. So today I'm joined by the lovely Danielle Sawyer. Welcome, Danielle.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Okay, so Danielle has been with St. Louis Mom for, is it 4 years now? Where are we at?
Like 4.5, maybe?
4.5.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember you from our 2020
Yep.
socially distanced team photos. So,
Awkwardly amazing.
yes, love it. Okay, so tell everybody what you do with St. Louis Mom. What's your role?
Well, first I started with a writer, and most recently I've become the events coordinator.
Mhm.
So I do the winter playdate series and swag, summer playdate series and swag, and then all the larger events like Flourish, Hanging with Heroes, whatnot. Do giveaways and swag for that.
Yes, so a huge part of all the fun goodies that you take home
Very
after
fun.
events and putting the smaller events together as well. So we're so thankful for Danielle. Okay, so tell us about your family. You are a mama of 2. Tell us.
Yes, I come from a deaf, hard of hearing family. So we have a genetic defect, so to say, and so that causes deafness. So my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my dad, me, my sisters, we all have hearing loss, deafness. That has moved on to my son, my oldest son. So he has bilateral hearing aids, but he also has a number of like other medical concerns, neurological, eyes, trying to think, orthotic wise, fine motor, language, speech, ADHD on top of all of that. So other health impairment is kind of what his term is.
Okay. And you have 2 boys,
Yep.
correct? And what are
Yeah.
their ages?
So that one is 6 going on 7.
Mhm.
And then the other one is 2 going on 3. Their birthdays are 2 days apart.
Okay. And you are a O'Fallon mom.
Yes.
Yes.
O'Fallon, Missouri.
Yes. What are your favorite things to do out there with your kids?
Well, we own 2 acres, so we explore, right?
I don't think I knew that. That's a lot of acres.
Yes, a lot of mosquito bites.
Yes.
Ugh.
They've been bad this year.
Yeah. Well, we have like a creek and all this. So we have like a tree house and 4-wheelers and bonfires. So just like being on our property, and then in the town, we love Enchanted Playroom is on O'Fallon. That's off Bryan Road, right by us. Winsville has Playtime, Arcade, and then St. Charles has Play Street and Kokomo Joe's. Oh man. I'm not a fan of trampoline parks, but we do have some of those.
Sure. Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah.
What about parks? You guys are not far from Veterans Tribute,
yeah.
right?
Not too far. St. Charles has, I personally love their parks. O'Day is really nice. That's a little bit more of like the older kids, I feel like. My 2-year-old, I don't really feel comfortable with him there.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
Adventurous.
Yes.
We have a lot of adaptive playgrounds, like those ultimate playgrounds.
Yes.
Fenced in, those are my favorite, especially with my 2-year-old.
Yes. Love that. Okay, so let's get into our topic. We're into the school year. So first, let's tell our audience, what is your role professionally? Because you're not just a wife and a mom. You are.
So I am a special education teacher, and I work solely in an autism classroom. So I have students who are nonverbal that utilize augmentative communication devices. So that could be a picture exchange system. It could be a device where it talks for them. You push it and it would say the word for them. Work on a lot of functional skills such as eating and toileting. Work on discrete trials. So a lot of just that repetition of skills like touch this, do this. pivotal response training, and that is like more the play skills. So interacting with those toys, for example. We do a lot of behavioral management strategies. Some kids are a little bit more aggressive than others, for example, and then some I don't really have many behaviors. So it's kind of like a wide range of behavioral skills.
How many kiddos do you have at any given time in your classroom?
This upcoming school year, I have 6 students.
Okay.
Then there's me and 4 paraprofessionals. So there's 6 students and 5 adults in the room.
Excellent. Okay. And they stay with you all day long?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's not any kind of a switching of class, or they're with you?
They might go, well, some of them go to special, so like art, music, PE with support.
Sure.
But other than that, usually they stay with me. So that they would go with me, and then once they kind of get to a specific score on their assessment, they would go to the next teacher. And then they would go to the next teacher, and then they would phase out of the program. If they don't go through that conundrum, then they would get outplaced to do more lifelong support.
Okay. Okay. And what drew you to this role? How did you end up in this branch of education?
I mean, I've always been around like the special ed world.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yep.
But I actually went to school for elementary. And then when I was a daycare teacher, I had a behavioral kiddo and a kid with Asperger's. And I just loved working with them. And then once they graduated to kindergarten, I was just like bored. And so that's when I added special ed. And yeah, I haven't ever taught gen ed, special ed.
Yeah. For how long?
This is my 14th year.
14 years.
I know.
Amazing.
It makes me feel old.
Right. How can we have been out of college for that long?
Really long time.
I love it. Okay. So we really want to get into the heart of the episode, which is navigating if your child has, or maybe has been recommended to have an IEP. And you wrote a great blog post about this last year for St. Louis Mom. So we'll be sure to share that with our readers. But maybe you can just give us some really basic information for those who might not know about what an IEP is, what it serves to do, and who might be a candidate for it.
Okay. Yeah. So an IEP is a legal document. It's could be short and sweet. It could be very long, depending on your kid's needs. It's designed specially for your child. No IEP is the same. So you'll have like a team of the gen ed teacher, an administrator, or counselor. You'll have a special ed teacher, and then if you have related service providers like occupational therapy, speech and language, they would all be a part of that. And then you add in the parents, and then like me personally as a parent, I have brought an advocate with me. Just even though I know the world of special education, that's kind of someone that's on your side, like if you're disagreeing with the team.
Okay.
So I have brought advocates with me to kind of just be another person on my side of the table.
And what's an example of someone who could be an advocate?
So I used FACT. They're in St. Charles County. So it's family advocacy and community training.
Okay.
And so you apply with them. It took us 3 months to get an advocate, and they would go with me to the meeting. I would sit down with them, go over his IEP. I'd explain my concern, and then they would come to the meetings with me and communicate and all of that. So just someone who knew all my concerns and then would also speak up. Like if maybe they weren't understanding my point or didn't agree with me, or it was someone else to just be like, well, hey guys, like just another person on your side of the table.
Another point of view, another perspective. Okay. And sorry, break it down for us. What does IEP stand for?
Yes.
I should have asked that at the beginning.
No, it's fine. Individual education plan.
Okay.
So within the document, you'll go over like the present level. And so that'd be like their current data. So like where are they functioning with those goals from last year? You'll have your service summary, which is their minutes. So how many minutes will they get for reading, math, writing, or social emotional, language, OT? You'll take that with the school day, and you'll come up with like a percentage and tell you what percentage they're in the gen ed classroom versus special education classroom. You'll also target the transportation. So if they need specialized transportation, adult support if they need an extra adult throughout their day, ESY, which is extended school year, if they need that service, that's in there, state testing, alternative state testing, district-wide assessments, accommodations, everything that you would need to support that child in the special education is just in that document.
In that document. Okay. And what are some things that might take place to lead someone down that path to say, maybe this, because it sounds like this is not something for every student, right? Not every child.
Correct.
So what are some things that might make a student a candidate for an IEP?
Every child's different. So it could be a medical diagnosis, like my son, who also has delays and struggling academically. It could also be someone that a parent can also refer, like, hey, can I do some testing? And you don't just get an IEP, it's a whole process.
Okay.
It's a 90-day evaluation process. And then if you qualify under DESE's term for like autism or other health impairment, like you have to meet the criteria through the state. And if you meet the criteria, then you would develop an IEP.
Okay.
So it's like a long process.
Sure. And who initiates it typically? Like, is it me as a mom? Is it the gen ed teacher? Is it an administrator? Who usually says, hey, this might be a good road to take?
Yeah. All the above, really. If you have a kiddo with a learning disability, the school will be like monitoring that, and they might be doing some progress monitoring, data collection reviews, and then they might bring that to the diagnostic or the school psych examiner, whoever does the testing. A parent can also request it, and then you guys can kind of go down that road. So it could kind of be really anybody who might see like a red flag.
Gotcha. Okay. So what are some of your, because obviously you're in such a unique position because you're a mom who's walked this road, but you're also someone who's on the other side of it, right? From an educator perspective. So what kind of encouragement, just in terms of helping moms advocate for their children, would you be able to give, not only from a mom's perspective, but an educator's perspective?
Yeah. One would just be open communication. Really for any parent, honestly, but communicating with the gen ed teacher, special ed teacher, related service providers, any concerns that you have throughout the year, just communicate those with them, and also tell them the good that you're seeing at home too, because they love to hear that. Like me as a teacher, I love to hear like, oh my gosh, he brushed his teeth for the first time by himself. Like, oh my gosh, we've been working on that for 3 months. Like, that's just awesome. Hearing those positives at the home perspective also. Because in special ed, you just hear so many negatives, like what they can't do.
Yeah.
And so hearing the positives, especially as a mom, is like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And celebrating those positives at home with your kid.
Yeah.
Especially if, they got whatever score and they've not had that type of score before. Or a simple thing like they sat in their seat for 5 minutes and they've never done that before. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. How do you like to celebrate moments like that when that happens?
Well, my son would want to go to Target.
No brainer. Come on. Who doesn't want to go to Target?
But just telling them how smart they are and like, you can do so many things and I'm so proud of you, and not that tangible thing that he always wants.
Right. Yes. That verbal reinforcement. And
so before an IEP meeting, I typically as a parent like to ask for a rough draft of it, especially with sometimes there's like those virtual meetings and it can be a lot. Even when you go in person, it can be overwhelming. Like when you walk in and there could be 3 people at a table or it could be like 20 people at a table.
Oh, wow.
Depending on how many providers your child has. It can be very intimidating, especially if you don't know education and special education. So I personally like to have the rough draft just to look at it and like soak in like the data and the concerns. And I like to write out my concerns. Sometimes I give it to them beforehand, especially if it's like a bigger thing to deal with.
Sure.
That's my biggest thing, honestly, is if you can get the rough draft, which you can, to do so and just read that the day or two before.
Okay. And yeah, to your point, you have an advocate there. Obviously, maybe your partner.
Yeah.
Go shoulder to shoulder and.
Yeah, and you can have a grandparent. You can have someone go with you. You just have to sign like a release that they can be present.
Okay.
But yeah, having someone just to like support you is always really nice, especially again if you don't know and you walk in a room with 20 people, your anxiety is going to kick in. Like even as a teacher, like I have a bachelor's and master's in special education, but like still when you walk in and there's 20 people just staring at you, you're like,
right.
You get nervous.
Well, yeah. And also, if you're not at the table as an educator, but as a mom, right? It's probably a much different feeling and perspective.
And usually we have like tissues on the table. It's because, it can be depressing and upsetting to hear all the things your child can't do. And so having that other person there for like emotional support is also really good.
Yeah. So what do you want to say to a mom who's at the table for her kid? What do you want to tell her?
The tissues?
Or just anything. Any kind of motivation or encouragement.
You might see fast progress. You might see slow progress. It might take months to see one simple task be done. It might take forever to see something, but they're going to make progress. It's on their terms. And as long as you can work with the school and the team, it's going to be okay. Like it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
My son is doing things that I like 4 years ago didn't think he was going to be doing.
Sure.
I just put trust in his team and it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, obviously your little one is just starting in he's just starting school. So, does an IEP typically last throughout the length of their education, like up all the way up till high school, or what is the typical timeline?
Yes. So he would get it at 3. So we did early intervention, which is at birth to 3. And so it's called First Steps. And then they would do like an evaluation and create a plan similar. And so we would do First Steps and then went to early childhood all the way until you get your diploma, which could be 18, it could be 21. Okay. Like some of my students could potentially be in school till they're 21 working on those life skills. You can also graduate from an IEP.
Okay.
So it isn't like you're not tied to it forever, but it can follow you till you're 21.
Okay.
There's also 504s.
Okay.
Which is more of just like, say my son with hearing loss and some medical concerns graduates, he could just have some medical things under a 504, which is still a legal document, but he doesn't need to go see a special ed teacher or go see a speech. He just needs that hearing aid support. And so it's another document, which is like a whole nother conversation.
Sure, of course. Okay.
But it's like a smaller, like a 1-pager.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So my last question is, obviously St. Louis Mom is super passionate about connecting moms with local resources, the best we can find. So obviously you've talked about your team, the team that's connected to your child's school and district and all of that. But are there any local resources beyond that you would recommend for a mom to kind of dig into, if this is now a part of their story?
Yeah. A good place to go that has just like a list would be the DESE website.
Okay.
And so if you go on that website, it might have links for like gross motor or ABA therapy or what have you. And you can go in and like click the websites. St. Charles Regional Department of Mental Health. So we have a case worker for Department of Mental Health, and they would provide long-term resources. Like when he goes into college, we can get resources for him.
Okay.
Easter Seals, Variety Kids Club, they provided him with some equipment. There's so much out there and a wide range of things that you really have to just search what you need. So like if you're wanting ABA, you just have to search. But the school districts also are another good resource.
Okay. Okay. And your blog post, there's a lot in there. Yeah. So we'll be sure to link that.
Yeah.
So. Awesome. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for helping bring a voice to this. And I know something that a lot of St. Louis moms are walking through. So we appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yes. All right, St. Louis moms, that'll do it for today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on another episode of Moms of the Lou. Thanks for listening to Moms of the Lou. We hope it encouraged you and put a pep in your step and helped you get to know our community a little bit better. Be sure to find us on Instagram, @ST_Louis_mom. You can find us on Facebook, St. Louis Mom. You can find us on our website, www.stlouismom.com. In case nobody else tells you today, you're a great mom and you're doing a great job. Chat with you next time.